Welcome to Feed Courage. Let's explore the inspiring stories of athletes, business owners, musicians, creatives, your regular humans. These people have taken bold steps to overcome obstacles in big events or just your daily life. These people have a wealth of knowledge and the inspiration to share. I personally am a fan of all of them. I'm your host, Oz from Leadwolf. So let's get started and meet our next guest.
My name is Dante Serena, San Diego, California. Currently in operations for restaurants. For the most part, yeah, ever since I was about 16 years old. My first job was Round Table Pizza here in Chula Vista, right across the street from Bonita Vista High School. I just always wanted to work, and I went to the owner and I said, can I get a job? And next thing you know, I was dishwashing, cutting pizzas, taking care of cash registers, stuff of that nature. At that time, I think I was making like $4.75 an hour. So, it wasn't much, but it definitely was a fun time. Yeah, for sure. My biggest thing is people that lead through fear. I'm not a fan of that. I like to create positive environments. Even when I was younger, right? When I didn't know all the things, it's all about the people. It's a people business. You just happen to sell food. I've done everything from, my own little side gigs of picking up free stuff to reselling it, to swap meets, to taco shops, to a UPS, to, had 3 jobs at one time when I was, 17, 18 years old. I've always been in the restaurant business, so I couldn't say the worst job. But if I had to name one, it goes back to the leading through fear. People that are obnoxious, nasty, rude. Yeah, so there was a certain regional director of operations at the time. I was a district manager, and he always led through fear. He made everybody real, walking on eggshells. I'm gonna fire your ass if you don't do this, if you don't do that, things of that nature. And finally, I was in charge of my district. He wasn't my direct supervisor. And he came into one of my units and started talking to one of our managers, and he kind of, I guess put trust in me and said, look, this is what's going on, and I wasn't too happy. I directly went to him as a common courtesy, and it kind of blew up bigger because he had to be the bigger man, So he started, kind of like, I'm your regional, I'm not your direct supervisor, but this is how the law is, and I'm like, no. So I went to the director of human resources, and I had never done that. Like, I always dealt with things personally because I just feel it's common courtesy, right? And then the director got involved, and then it went bigger and bigger. And actually, he got suspended for a couple things. A couple things came out. So at the end, it was to me, it was a good thing, right? Because you're getting rid of somebody that is just negative and, has only the mentality to grow, which is great, but grow at what expense? So that was the problem. I did, I had a couple mentors, and I never went to college. I started working, and then my father passed away, and I had a son at 1 year old, a 1-year-old son at 18. Actually, his first birthday was when my father died. My brother was in prison, so I just had to go to work. But back to the mentor part, I didn't know it then, but now I took every opportunity as a positive or a negative mentorship. But my mentors, one in particular, Paul Nishiyama, he's actually the COO up until like 2 weeks ago for Rubio's. He was there since like 1986. He's now, I believe, the COO of some coffee place. But he was a very, very different than everybody else. In regards to when you're in a very fast-paced environment, the restaurant business, you tend to let your emotions get in the way. Like, he never did that. He was always calm, collective, very smart with his words. When everybody's like, hey, what are you doing? Get over here. Don't do that. He was more like, hey, let's do this. Let's do that. Step back. He actually took me out of one time. I was an 18-year-old general manager for Rubio's. Yeah. I think I was the first 18-year-old general manager for Rubio's. And he came into my store. It was about 11:20, And he goes, go get your food. You're going to sit down. And I was like, no, I'm not. Like, we're about to get into a lunch rush, dude. It's not going to happen. He goes, no. Go get your food. You're going to sit down. I was pissed. I was like, what are you talking about? He goes, go get your food. Go sit down. You're going to watch the show from a different perspective. He goes, you can't do everything yourself. You have to lead through people. He goes, and if you don't do that, you're going to burn out. So you're going to watch your employees, under you, run the show because you're only as good as when you're not here. So that right there was just, it clicked a different light bulb in my head of, wow, you're only as good as when you're not here. So when you're running the unit within your four walls, everything's great because you're there, because you're covering every single aspect and you're trusting and verifying everything. But what happens when you leave? Yeah, so he's a great guy, and he started at the bottom. He started literally making tortillas and grilling fish with Ralph Rubio in PBE at the first Rubio's. Oh yeah, it's 100% different. I mean, I have a 27-year-old, I have a 17-year-old, I have a 6-year-old, and it's very different, right? And I even talked to what you talked about, right, in regards to college. I didn't go to college, but my college was Rubio's. My college was Baja Fresh, Daphne's, all those, right? I went to work and I was there 2 hours before everybody, right? Why? Because I needed that time to stay up to beat with those guys, right? So I'd be there at 7 when they came in at 9. That's 2 hours more a day, 10 hours more a week. I worked a week more a month than everybody else did. So that was my mentality. That's why I was so consistent and so good. Back to your question, people don't have that anymore, right? Running Mr. Moto Pizza as a director and having a district manager and managers and all this stuff, you look at our employees, and that's one of the questions that keeps me up at night, right? How are we going to get more drivers? How are we going to get more cashiers? How are we going to get more cooks that can do the job, unfortunately, at the rate of pay that we pay? Because we're not the best. We're fair, and the tips bump it up a little bit. We average on our lower volume stores, we average about $3 more an hour in tips per hour per person. On our higher volume stores, we average about $5 an hour more per tips per person. So it does give us a little bit of a bump. Our highest paid guy is probably making about $21, $22 an hour, which that's pretty good. But yeah, people feel entitled. People feel that they don't want to do certain things. Like, well, I don't wash dishes. No, not gonna happen. I quit. Bye. And I'm like, I mean, back in my day, it was you went in there, you went to the guy, you knocked on the door, you put in the application. When can you start? Right now. When can you work? Anytime. Can you work weekends? Yes. Can you work when I call you? Yes. How are you gonna get here? No, I don't have a car, but I have a bike and I can ride my bike to work, right? Like that. That's what it was. And now it's like they walk in late, no uniform, give you an attitude, right? And it's a high percentage. I would say about 30 to 40% of the people, of our employees, have those characteristics, which is a challenge. It's a big challenge for everybody. And that keeps me up at night a little bit. Yeah.
Not a favorite.
No. And it's funny you say that because, favorites, I'm not a big favorite person. I'm a big, hey, you put in the work and you're working and you're consistent and you're dedicated and you have the passion and you have all that. That's the guy that's gonna get the hours. That's the guy he may not be the fastest. So what, right? He may be the quiet guy. He may be the loud guy, right? Then you just go and have a conversation with that person. And, in Spanish, hablando se entiende la gente, right? I think part of the biggest problem is we don't sit down with our team members and set the expectation of what we want and how we need to deliver what we're delivering, right? It's just expected. And that's not okay. I literally just had our last meeting with our managers, and it was like, hey, when you hire somebody, You need to invest the time in them in that hour that you hire them, and they're doing, because before we used to send them the packet, they used to just kind of do it at their house. No, now it's inside. Now you take an hour of your day, you slot it off. Sometimes you're gonna go away, do something, come back, because they're doing paperwork. But that's when you really say, hey, it's really important for you to, not come with a creased shirt. Iron your shirt. It's really important for you to, you'd be surprised, take a shower every day, right? Wear your hat. Their level of expectation to something may not be the level of expectation to what you're trying to do. So in regards to mentorship, I try to mentor everyone when I walk into a unit. So if I'm walking into a unit, what am I doing? What did I do before I walked into that unit to be able to have a difference in somebody? Whether that's on a personal level, meaning that I knew that, John's daughter was sick the last 2 days. Hey, John, how you doing, man? How's your family? Let's pull aside. Right? Take that 37 seconds of, how are you doing, man? How's your daughter?
It means a lot.
I know you guys had a big soccer game last Saturday. How was it? That, night and day. So I feel that that's what makes teams, and I feel that that's easier said than done. And I feel that sometimes general managers or district managers or kitchen managers, people in the level of some sort of power of being able to, put schedules together or do write-ups or things like that. I feel sometimes they feel they're doing it, but they lack on how to do it. And with that said, that's very important, right? That creates an environment that will take you to the next level.
Crash or
I think one of the ones that's always sticks to you is labor, or being able to control labor or labor laws or something of that nature, because they change so much, especially in California or with vacation pay or sick pay, or it just changes so much that we just sometimes can't keep up, and we're in tune with operations that we're like, wait, what happened, right? And then we maybe do something wrong, and then we get something come in that's, oh, well, you didn't pay me out this or whatever. But I think labor is the most consistent one that becomes a pattern of having issues with. But I think the worst one was definitely the pandemic. At that time, I was in charge of the Camp Pendleton mess halls, and we had about 800 employees, ran 8 different mess halls, fed about 185,000 Marines a week. We had a lot of vendor issues. Running out of orange juice because they just couldn't provide it, and you're feeding Marines, and it's part of their diet. Like, they have to have juice. Like, they have to have Gatorade. And then people, like, we went from, like I said, 800 to about 380 employees, like 50% cut staff, right? How do you do it? What do you do? You're feeding the same amount of Marines. Now you're feeding the same amount of Marines. Now they're enclosed, like they can't come, they can't feed. It's an environment where it's like a buffet environment. So they get their own stuff. That's gone now. Now you have to hand it to them.
Like school.
Yeah. So but now it's a whole different logistics. Now my employee has to put it together and give it to them, which is when they did that, and now we're doing that with half the staff. We have fewer amounts of product, we have fewer amounts of employees, and we still have to feed the same amount of Marines. And now we have a time window of 2 hours. Now we have to get those people in 2 hours with, now you're 6 foot distancing. We burn people out. That's what we did, reality. And what I mean by that is they were working overtime, they were working double overtime, they were working 6 days, they were working 7 days. I was in there serving, I was in there in the scullery, I was washing dishes. I'm the director of Camp Pendleton mess halls in the washroom washing dishes. So it's all about, speed of the leader, speed of the pack mentality. But that was probably the one of the biggest challenges. And overall, honestly, even though the government was like, always on our on our ass, we knocked it out of the ballpark. I mean, we still fed Marines. We still took them their boxes, to camp. If they were out training, we'd have to, 700 box lunches from one day, like 10 p.m., get a clicking text. By tomorrow morning, 0600, we need 700 box lunches. And we're like, excuse me? Like, I don't even know if I have the cheese to make the sandwiches, or is it cut, or is it defrosted, or do we have enough boxes? And then we just scramble together and get from every mess hall, and then boom, and it's done. I mean, there's a lot of computer logistics behind it, right? It tells you what you need to order, but it's still, there's a lot of bumps and bruises in between, and again, vendors didn't have the product either. So now it's like, well, we don't have turkey. Well, what do you mean you don't have turkey? So now we go to got to outsource vendor, or we got to go buy it, or whatever we have to do to make sure. And again, we're not, nothing against, anybody, but we're feeding Marines. Yeah. I mean, our biggest mess hall 52, which where all the runts are at, all the new guys. We can feed 6,000, 7,000 Marines in 2 hours. The mess hall was the size of a Costco. I'm the director of operations for Mr. Moto Pizza. My biggest challenges right now is it's exactly what you said, right? Leaning into the future, my mentality has to be 3 to 6 months out. So I can't think today. I have to think what's going to happen in June now. I'm in June, July, August. What are we doing for Christmas? How are we going to get those sales? How are we going to stay not only competitive with price points and consistent quality product and wowing our customers to come back, loyalty programs, POS systems. Mr. Moto has done a great job coming from 1 to 9 units. Amazing job. But 9 to 20 and 20 to 30 are so different that's where I'm at, right? So right now we're implementing, brand new we're going to start implementing brand new POS systems, brand new loyalty programs with different tiers to be able to bring people back in. There's a certain level of, we want to make sure our customer buys what we want them to buy, or we want them to purchase it how we want them to purchase it. What that means is instead of cash, we want you to use a digital wallet, right? All those things are new to Moto. Building the foundation, I think we've done that, right? We went back and we kind of retrained all the managers, restructured that, kind of told them put certain systems in place. How do we do projections of sales? What is the labor that we want to be at? Let's say it's 24% labor, but that's impossible, then we got to restructure that, right? Because 24 doesn't allow us to give us the amount of people that we need to provide that wow factor, right? We just had a price increase in labor, so there was an 8% increase. So, unfortunately, we had to raise prices. Well, to begin with, I mean, the labor cost is just, out of this world. I mean, which, and as it should be, I guess, because, the cost of living here is just ridiculous. So, it's very unfortunate that I personally just went through a situation where I did look at, housing and the prices of renting an apartment. And, you have to make 2.5 times, 3 times your amount to afford to rent for them to even look at you. So, which leads to other things, homelessness and I make $60,000, not me, but if I were to make $60,000 a year, I can barely afford a $2,000, $2,500 a month apartment. Like, to me, it's ridiculous right now. But places like Arizona, I mean, the wage hasn't gone up there. Everything is still expensive there anyways. But I just feel California is on a different level expensive, in San Diego specifically. And it's very unfortunate because, now you have, 5, 6, 7 families or 3 families living in one household that has 3 rooms that each share a room. That all creates certain patterns and certain, issues, right? Where we really need to do something about the lifestyle of how you live. And, you know, a single dad, I mean, Mr. Moto has employees that are single moms that are full-time employees, full-time going to school, you know, barely see their kids. And, you know, I'm a big guy on that. I'm a single dad. My son has a single mom. And I'm huge on being able to, you know, give them, the employees, days off. And I mean a day off. Like, no school, no nothing. Take your kid to SeaWorld. Take your kid to the park and play type of a day off. Obviously, easier said than done, but I talk about this in my meetings. I want our general managers to really make that happen. To really care about our team members and be able to structure it that way. And again, easier said than done. And you know, we still have a job to do. We still have a business to run. Yeah, it is culture, right? And I feel that for the most part, if we continue to do that, that will be part of the reason of why people want to work for us, you know, and work hard and give it their all. But it's definitely hard. Cali, San Diego's hard. It's not an easy place and very competitive. You know, just because you're not selling pizza, we're in the pizza business, it doesn't mean you're not my competitor. Darn straight you're my competitor. If they're not eating at Moto, you're my competitor. That's just the way it goes. So how do we get that business to get in so we can provide a better quality life, so we can provide a better structure, so we can provide a better schedule, so we can pay, you know, upwards of $24, $25 an hour. It's interesting and it's scary, and although it's very the future, right? I mean, we're all about, you know, this phone. We're all about the phone. We're all about the app. We're all about fast, speed, efficient. You know, we get flustered and frustrated when something doesn't happen like that. You know, I went into, in the last month, I've gone into restaurants where I walk in and there's absolutely no service. Like, they're all overworked, overwhelmed. You got to wait longer, and they automatically push you towards this machine that you just sit there and, you know, and I'm pretty good at it, and I suck at it. Like, I got to sit there and scroll, and how do I put no onions? And I'm in the business. I don't like it. I hate it. I think, unfortunately, it's going in that direction, though, because that machine, you just got to keep up with it. You just got to maintenance it. It doesn't cost you any money. I mean, if you look at the McDonald's of the world, their front register rooms used to be huge. Now they're like one register. And then they got two behind that you can go do yourself. So you're not going to stand in line of three. You're just going to go do it yourself. They're training you. The Walmarts. You beep your stuff out. There's my Walmart. Mind you, it's a super Walmart. The Walmart I go to, there's always one cashier. There's always a line. Go over there, do it yourself, right? You know, the generation of now, you know, just wants that tech side. And, you know, you were talking about that robot that I saw, this robot, you know, we were sitting down and this robot just came and like dropped off 2 beers to these people. And I'm like it was the first time I saw it. So I was just like, what the hell is going on, right? This bartender fills up the beers, which now they even have it to fill up for you if you really want to. Then he puts them on this robot, and this robot took a good little trip all the way around the bar, around to the other side, and this robot comes up, and the people were like, and they took the beer, and the robot just turned around, what? And I was like, what the? I was like, I'm not tipping a robot. That's not gonna happen. That's the first thing I thought of. I'm not tipping a robot, right? But you're right. I mean, it goes back to, where is the people? You know, you don't have that anymore. That's going away. I mean, Texas just came up with the first McDonald's, no people, 0 people, right? Drive-through, everything is automated. Machines make the food. Taco Bell has this, and I don't remember where, but they have this thing where also the Taco Bell is on top, and then they have like 5 different drive-throughs, and you just order it on the app, and you pull up, and boop, boop, and there's your food.
I'm very techie and I don't like ordering online. I don't like ordering. I like someone to talk to. Okay,
Yeah.
this is my order. I
Correct.
don't know why. Maybe it's
No,
so,
no.
But I am very techie and still I do not like it.
Yeah, I'm the same way, and unfortunately, I see in the near future an issue. I see people eventually not liking it. I see people, like you said, the people interaction has to be there. You still gotta say hi. You still and I agree with you with your comment. I think that you can charge more. Why not? Right? And those are the decisions that obviously we're gonna have to make in the near future.
Yeah.
But then you get that double-edged sword because people are saying, well, why are you charging more? I get it over here, and I don't talk to people, and it's in a machine. And I mean, I literally had a vendor call me and say, his spiel was, we can save you 30% on labor because we can put robots in your kitchen. That's what he said. Like a robot, you would have the line, and the robot literally sits there and puts the cheese and puts the tomatoes and puts the toppings and puts it in and cooks out and done deal.
What was your reaction?
I said, don't ever call me again. I mean, not like that, but I'm like, I'm not interested. And he's like, you're not interested to save like 30%? I go, not like that.
Not
At the expense of an employee? No. And the problem is also I remember being 17 years old, 16 years old, again, going out there, putting my application in and talking to the owner or the manager, and we're doing away with those jobs. I have a 17-year-old that can't get a job because he's not 18. Now that's a whole different conversation, right? I get the legality of you should be 18 because you're legal, because you're not going to school, you don't need a work permit, you're not limited to, only working on weekends or 4 hours. So I get that, which that sucks. But we're eliminating the what is it called? The entry level positions. We're eliminating them. And, companies like the Walmarts, they have a system in place, which, great for them, in a way, because they hire either somewhat of challenged individual, right, because they are able to pay that low wage, right, and they're able to get that credit from the tax. It's why they do it. But again, you're eliminating that entry level position, and where are these kids gonna go? Exactly. Where are they gonna go get a job? Man, on my first job, I mean, I think somebody like me that is an aggressive go-getter. And I've always been taught to do that and work your ass off, right? And do it right. If you're gonna do it right. I would definitely say to relax a little bit, take it in, don't be so wanting to jump the gun so fast. Like take it in, learn it better before you try to go. I guess I was just very aggressive in regard because I know what I wanted. So. And I knew I wasn't gonna go to school, so I'm like, look, this is where I'm at. I'm gonna make this the best, right? And I'm gonna go up the ladder, and I've been able to do that. But I think what I would tell him is again, just take a step back, observe it. As a 16, 17-year-old, you just go. No, breathe. Observe it a little bit better, make a judgment. It's okay to put something away for a day or two, right? Back then I didn't do that. I just jumped, and I feel that it would have made me maybe better faster. Although I've been doing this for 28 years, and if you count with my dad as a 6-year-old being in a pizza shop, it'd be longer. But that's what I would tell you. Yeah, exactly. And I think that, again, as a 16, 17-year mentality, you're like, okay, boom, boom, make a decision. Like, slow down. Go, put it away. Go sleep on it, right? Because once you sleep on it, then you have a different perspective of what you're going to be doing. But as a 17-year-old, you don't give a shit. You're just on the go. I got a really good advice from my boss at Camp Pendleton, which he would write for mayors and senators, stuff of that nature. And he told me one day when I wrote an email, which was like that long, He goes, next time you write an email, he goes, I want you to write it. I want you to close the computer, go away. Come back, read it, rewrite it again. Do that 2 more times. Then you're gonna send it to me. Then I'm gonna proofread it. The difference of how the email started to how it ended, first of all, it was half the size. The emotion was all out. It was all facts. And I was like, holy shit. Like, it was such a different email, right? So that was something that it kind of goes back to slow down, right? Especially somebody in our position, director or VP or CEO. You know, if we make 2 to 3 really good decisions a month, it affects a lot of people's lives. So I try to really step back sometimes. Don't get me wrong, there's times when I'm going 100 and I won't stop. But those are different things. Those are things that I already
More
just...
tactical things.
Yeah, exactly. More tactical, like you shouldn't be using that spoon, you should be using this one. This is exactly. That's very fast.
When it's infrastructure, when
Correct.
it sounds like strategy.
Correct. And that's probably the one thing that I would tell any kid or myself. And I think I would have become a lot smarter, faster, and not had worried about certain things at certain times of my life.
And that's a wrap for today's show of Feed Courage. I'm your host, Oz from Leadwolf. I hope you had some valuable insights and really got inspired from our guests. If you have any comments or questions for them, please leave them below. Remember to like and subscribe to our channel. If you or someone you know has an inspiring story, send us a DM. We'd love to have you on our show. Until next time.